Welcome to another haircut tutorial. Today we're going to be doing a bald fade with the number 1 with the grain on top. First we start by making a guideline all the way around the head with the number 0 speedo guard, aka the number 2 closed, giving ourselves a flat surface to work with. Next we take the number 1 wall guard fully closed, going with the grain on top of the head. As you can see, these two numbers line up almost perfectly and leave the hair almost the exact same length. So we're just evening out the hair right now. Now I take my Indus Masters fully closed and I'm making my first guideline starting about halfway up the head. Depending on how high they want the fade will determine where you put it. In this case, the client doesn't get the shaver on the side of his head because it causes irritation. So I just use the trimmer for my lowest length. And since I'm using the trimmer as the lowest length, I like to start the fade off with the Indus Masters closed instead of the trimmers. That way I don't start the fade with a hard line to take out. Now I'm using my Indus Masters on the second notch and I'm going up about 1/4 of an inch in order to create a new line. With this technique, I'm just creating new guidelines constantly. That way I can stretch out the blend and I never have to really worry about taking out any previous lines since I'm fading from the bottom to the top. Now to keep this fade consistent, I jump to the third notch and go up 1/4 of an inch. Now I drop down to fully open on the 5th notch and I'm going up another 1/4 of an inch. And here I'm just playing with the lever a little bit. Now I take my wall magic clips with the number 1 and I'm fully opened. I'm starting to try to connect the blend from the number 0 speedo guard, aka the number 2 fully closed, to the Indus Masters fully open, and I'm meeting the blend in the middle. I did create another guideline here, but I'm not worried about it because the last step is going to take it out. Now I use the magic clips with the number 1 fully closed to knock out the line between the Indus Masters open and the number 1 open. And now I'm using the number 1 halfway open. And I just start to play with the levels a little bit before moving on to the last step. Now I use the Andis Masters fully open, and I'm going with the grain to lay the bulk above the fade down into the fade itself. Since we use the number 1 with the grain on top and the Masters fully open with the grain is the next step downwards, it will connect the blend and complete the transition. Now I'm using my Slimline Pro LIs in order to bald out the bottom of the fade. I tried not to make another guideline, so I'm using corners when I get to the top of the hair that needs to be shaved. That way I can blend fully into the existing fade. Now I'm just doing the lineup as lightly as I can because he has a lot of receding spots. So in order to visualize it, we need to go gently and work patiently. Now with the razor, just make sure to be aware of any bumps or blemishes, as that can cause you to nick someone if you run over it too aggressively. So try to stay light with your hands, lay the blade flat, and only shave the stubble that is remaining. Do not try to create a new line with the razor. Now I'm applying hair fibers for this client. Since he does have a receding lineup, I wanted to do something to make it pop a little bit more. And it's okay if you overspray the fibers a little, because you can just wipe them off and reapply them if you need to. This is where I start to remove any excess fibers with my trimmers and try to get the line as sharp as I can. Just make sure not to create any new lines, as you're only going over the same work you already did. If anything, we're just touching up slightly where you may have seen any imbalances. Sometimes the fibers can help you visualize a lineup a little better, so that's also why I like to use them.